Please, please.
There is no mercy.
The Mandalorian Season 2 is not holding back when it comes to answering questions of the well-being of the galaxy. And if you have questions, that's okay, because I'm here to answer them. Please subscribe to The Monkey Man for more content like this. You can always unsubscribe in the future, and it's free. Despite not revealing the anticipated live-action appearance of Ahsoka Tano, Chapter 12, The Siege, is in no way disappointing. Directed by the legend himself, Carl Weathers, who also stars as Greef in the show, Weathers did an amazing job at directing and definitely answered many questions that fans have been longing to be answered, and is definitely setting up the climax for the show, which is Moff Gideon eventually getting his hands on Baby Yoda. Now we understand that the child is a necessity for the Empire because of his M count, according to the Kamino scientist, and we know he's from Kamino due to the badge on his arm. We see this badge on his arm once again in the hologram that we see Mandalorian and Greef look at. Something that the Doctor is referring to when he says M count is midichlorians. Something that has been explained before in the Star Wars universe in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon explains to Anakin that because he has a higher M count than most Jedi, that he is the chosen one. Because in the Star Wars universe, or to George Lucas, the more M count you have, or more midichlorians, the more stronger you are in the Force. See, midichlorians are basically the Force itself, and they live amongst everybody. This explains why some people are Force sensitive, and why some people can just outright use the Force, such as Luke Skywalker. The confirmation of cloning in the sequel era of Star Wars is basically what we were expecting to happen. This is something that was commonly theorized in Season 1 after the appearance of the Kamino Doctor, and also Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, where we see Palpatine return in a cloned body. And yeah, thanks J.J. Abrams. Now, due to J.J. Abrams' intellectual big brain, we now know that Palpatine was cloned, something that wasn't really answered in the sequel trilogy. We had to find that out through other sources. And I think The Mandalorian's going to double down on this and answer questions that fans have been longing to be answered for the longest time since the sequel trilogy has come out. Because the sequel trilogy is currently a mess and definitely needs a rebuild. We can definitely see this play out with The Mandalorian, similar to how the Clone Wars kind of rebuilt the world around the prequel trilogy, because the prequel trilogy was once hated to the level of the sequel trilogy despite being made by George Lucas. Many people are beginning to theorize that these clones that we see in Episode 12 are failed attempts to make Snoke. However, I don't think it's Snoke. I do believe it could be a gradual tie-in on how Snoke was made. I actually believe this is an attempt by the Empire to resurrect Palpatine himself, and I do think that Palpatine will eventually make a return in The Mandalorian, because us fans are eager to know how Palpatine just suddenly came back, because yet again, thanks to J.J. Abrams, he just showed up. And I feel like The Mandalorian's also going to show the First Order coming together, because Palpatine is pulling strings the whole time. The question is, when does Palpatine come back into the picture? So is Palpatine going to show up in The Mandalorian? And who's going to provide the midichlorians for the clones' blood? Because we do know that the Empire succeeds in their attempts to bring back Palpatine. So with the given evidence, we can assume that Palpatine might make a return, or at least a cameo at the very least, because he's bound to return, because we do see him in Episode 9. This isn't really more of a theory, it's more, well, kinda, it's more of just looking at evidence and just putting the pieces together, if I'm being completely honest with you, because if Palpatine doesn't make a cameo, or at least return, or at least isn't mentioned, that would honestly surprise me. It's definitely interesting to see the route that the show is going in, and I'm very happy to see it going in this route, because I want the sequel trilogy to do good. I don't want the sequel trilogy to do bad, and I just have so much respect for the directors of this show, because they really do know Star Wars, and it really feels like Star Wars, and it really feels like the way that The Mandalorian should go, no pun intended. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said earlier, please subscribe. It's free. You don't have to, but I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for giving me time of your day, and have a good one.